So I have my survey data processed, and in this video I'll talk a little bit about reviewing our survey information. So one of the things you'll notice right away is the point names are displayed a little differently in ORD than they were in Select Series 4. So I'm in my survey workflow and I'm on the Analyze tab, and I have this group of commands for the decorations. So these are what is known as survey decorations, and by default in the ODOT configuration we have the names option turned on. So I can turn those on or off by selecting the icon. It's just a toggle option. And if I zoom in on my data a little bit, I can see that the size of the text stays fixed relative to the screen. So this text is not written to the file, it is display only text. Now the color and size of that text is defined in our user preferences, and that applies to all the different decorators. So there's one for the field code, one for the elevations, descriptions. Setups and observations would display setup and observation lines, but since this is reduced coordinate data, there are no setup and observation lines. And icons will display a little circle over any points there where there's a code error, it didn't find the code, or anything that has a media file attachment, such as a photo to a point. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these options back off, and I will take a look at how I can change the settings for those. So if I pick the File tab, that takes me to the Backstage. In the Backstage, I can pick Settings and look at my user preferences. In the user preference, there's a View Options Civil group, and a Survey Decorators is its own group of parameters here. So I'll go ahead and select that and expand that. So here's where the name parameter is defined as on as a default in the Ohio preferences. And here's the color for that name text. And there's also a scale factor for that text if I wanted to bump that up or bump that down. So you can change these values as you feel is appropriate for your personal preferences. And again, these are stored in your user preferences. I'm just going to leave those as is and hit OK. Now, one other thing that's different about this text is it stays facing the screen. So if I rotate my view, and I'm just going to rotate about a point, I'll pick that one and rotate my view. So I can see that that text stays facing the screen. So that's kind of nice to rotate your view, take a look at your data, and the text is always readable. Okay, I'm going to turn those names off, and just a few other things that are review from Select Series 4. The operation is really pretty much the same, but if I use my selection tool and select a point, actually I haven't even selected yet, I'm just floating my cursor over a point, I get the pop-up menu with information for that point. If I select it, I get the context menu where I can edit the properties or pick a new point, toggle on or off, decorators, view a report on this point, and some other options. I got to go through all these. If I select the properties, that allows me to edit properties for this point, and that properties also show for the selected point in the properties dialog. Okay, the same is true with linear features. Float my cursor over it and I get a pop-up menu with information. If I select it and allow my cursor to rest, I get the pop-up menu with all the different editing tools and the properties dialog itself. And again, the properties can be shown here at my cursor location or in the properties dialog. So for the most part, the survey processing is the same in ORD as it was in Select Series 4. The difference is the annotation of the points. They're not written on those survey text levels as they were before. They are survey decorators. The other thing to note on decorators is they can only be viewed in the file that contains the field book. If I'm referencing this file, I cannot turn those decorators on or off. So that concludes this video with just an overview of reviewing our survey information.